At first, I thought the microphone was turned around backwards again, but it's not.
Oh, you're dropping coasters and
Okay.
well,
I have a problem.
what's happening?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, this is the Witches, Magic, Murder, and Mystery Podcast.
And I'm Kara.
And I'm Megan.
And I have a scratchy voice today because heartburn.
Yes. She's still pregnant, but we don't know for how much longer.
This baby is a lot.
We thought she was having it yesterday, but she's clearly not.
She decided not to come out.
We were like, could you just let us record a couple more episodes?
She said, just get in.
I was going to do a quick update on this Delphi murder update, just because it's one of those cases that a lot of us are familiar with. We've never covered it on the podcast, but we did give an update when they arrested a suspect, which is like the first arrest they've made. Mm-hmm. And then this one is authorities released details in the Delphi murders. And I was like, oh no, because they've never released how the girls were killed. But I don't know. Yeah, and I'm sure it's awful. No matter what it is, I'm sure it's awful. But also, I want to read everything I can about this case.
Right.
And so I knew I would have to read the article, but I don't really want to hear how they died. No. But here's the thing. It doesn't do
There's no gruesome details.
Thank God. It does just give us an idea, because we really never knew what led to the arrest of this man they've arrested, the suspect, Richard Allen. The way it went down is they found a spent bullet near the bodies, and they tied that bullet back to him. They had done a search of his home. They found this gun, and when they did an analysis, the gun matched the bullet. So crazy. That's how it led to him. And they do know that he was in the area that day.
Later?
He'd been spotted.
Almost 6?
It was 2017. So yeah, almost 6.
Wow.
Oh, it was just terrible. So it'll be interesting to see
everything unfold,
how this all plays out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm so impressed that they have continued to work so hard on this case. Yeah. Because when you read this article, it kind of gives the background of how long they've been digging into stuff. All the steps that led to this arrest. Yeah. Because this guy has been interviewed multiple times over the years, and they just kept going back. And it's a great story of, in so many cases where it feels like the police gave up or just didn't care. This isn't like that. And that makes me happy. Right. So.
Look at them.
I know. The sweet little girls.
Poor little babies.
Okay. We have an episode.
We do. I have 2 little girls. Mm-hmm. They're not so sweet, though.
Oh, I thought you meant like your daughters.
Oh, I do. I have 2 little girls.
2 little girls. But I have 3. They're monsters. No,
they're terrifying.
Okay, so these girls in your episode are not sweet.
No.
I'm trying to run through like every story I know of creepy little girls. There's a few. Yeah.
Do you know anything about Pauline Parker and her BFF, Juliet Hulme? Yeah, I'm about to tell you about them.
What year is this case from?
Well, they were Pauline was born in 1938.
Okay.
But it was the 50s.
Listen, let's let that mail truck
the train.
Somebody made a comment about different things we say in episodes that make them laugh, and one of them was, is it the president again? And I was like, yeah, I think we have made that joke multiple times.
Because we don't know. They didn't tell us they were coming the last time.
Anybody. Millie.
She's going to tell us.
She's got to talk to the mailman.
Oh my God. Every time I'm here, I'm parked in front of the mailbox, and he's probably so annoyed.
You too. I hope you're enjoying this. The special moment we all get to share.
That's great.
I think the mailman had to bring something to the door. And now Millie is like, get off my porch.
From my house.
You know what happened the other day? I'm going to tell you this story.
She said, she's singing a song for people.
The other night, it's about 10 o'clock. I had just come out of Lauren's room, so I knew she was in there. And Ella was in her room, as far as I knew. And I heard the garage door open. And I went, is that the garage door? And then Brian was like, who's going outside right now? And I was like, Lauren's in her room. And I didn't hear Ella go downstairs. He calls out to Ella, and she's like, yeah, from her room. And then I was like, Lauren? And she was like, yeah, from her room. And then I was like,
somebody's in her house.
The garage door open. Yeah. Brian's like, stay here. And I was like, okay. That sounds like me. He goes off down the stairs. I grab my phone and I don't like rush down the stairs, but I'm like creeping. Right?
Yeah.
And I get to the bottom of the stairs and I'm thinking my babies are upstairs. So I got to stay right here.
Yeah.
And I'm watching and I go and I look out the front door and to see, cause I'm like, if there is somebody in the garage, there's going to be off running. Yeah. So I'm watching and nothing's happening. So then I open the front door to listen. I don't hear anything, but Brian also has not come in yet.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like a very quick, like you step outside, you look around, you come back in. That doesn't happen. And so I'm like, what do I do?
Was he abducted?
How long do I wait?
Yeah.
What if he's fighting someone in the garage right now?
Yeah.
I can't move from my station at the bottom of the stairs.
Because my kids are upstairs.
They're upstairs. And they don't know anything that's going on.
Yeah.
I push 911 on my phone and I'm just sitting there. And finally, he comes in and I was like, oh, thank God. So he thinks that like one of the neighbors' garage door openers like
triggered
frequency
yours?
Somehow. I don't know.
Oh.
Apparently that's a thing that can happen. But also that seems like a serious flaw in the system. And it's never happened before. And I hope it never happens again because it terrified me.
Right.
There you go, YouTube. That's a story just for you.
I mean, those people that break into cars that have those little scanner things.
It was the weirdest feeling. Because there's been times when I'm like, did I just hear something? But this was like,
oh, this actually
the garage door definitely opened. How did that happen?
Yeah, you can't miss that noise.
It was creepy.
Oh, man.
Okay, let's hear your story.
Okay. Pauline Parker was born May 26, 1938. She's the second daughter of Herbert and
Herbert
and Honora.
Honora?
Mm-hmm.
Like Lenora? But Honora?
I'm pretty sure that's how it's
Where
pronounced.
are these people? Or what country are we in?
It's we're all over.
Oh, okay.
These parents claimed for a bit that they were married. People thought they were married. They weren't. We don't really know why.
They just didn't want to they didn't want to be legally married, but they said they were. I mean, they probably said they were just because that's more socially acceptable.
Right.
But like, why not just get... Right. If you're going to go through the act of pretending to be married.
They just didn't. They just said no thanks. For some reason, it says, in this article, it says, on the front door of the near white painted house on Christchurch suburb, the ground floor of which was their home, there was a carefully lettered notice, Mr. Rapier and Mrs. Parker.
They put it on there?
Yeah, like what? Why? I don't know.
Oh, it says they did it.
Yeah.
In a gesture of honesty. So nobody was calling them out. They were doing it.
Yeah. But so people that were like calling them out, they're like, yeah, and.
But Mrs. Parker.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I don't know.
Okay.
But anyways, this is the least of their worries.
No, let's talk about this some more. So
Pauline was known as a dark, dumpy girl. She was, as a teen.
Dark and dumpy.
She was 5'3" tall. It said she had cold brown eyes and she had olive tone skin. She also had a limp because when she was 5, she got osteomyelitis. It's a crippling bone marrow infection.
I know this. I mean,
you've had.
I'm familiar.
Yeah,
no.
You've studied.
Just from when I worked at Shriners. I'm familiar.
Oh yeah. Did I say that right?
You did actually. Osteomyelitis. Yeah.
Wow. So she spent several months in the hospital, and she had like lots of operations because of it over the series of years. She just really struggled. So that's what kind of caused her limp a little bit. And also because of this limp, she couldn't really
It's a dog hair.
She couldn't play with her little friends outside. She couldn't play on the playground with friends at school. So she just kind of took to more artsy things and stuff. She liked writing. She liked sculpting with clay. That's just what she did. Okay. Then there's Juliet Hulme. She was a really smart kid. She was tall and slim, and she had a pink complexion.
So nobody called her dark and dumpy?
No.
I'm still annoyed by that.
No,
I'm assuming I'm not going to like this girl later, but
no,
I don't know.
You're not going to like either one of them.
Dark and dumpy. It's just rude. It's just rude.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's like calling somebody bookish. So her dad is Dr. Henry Rainsford Hulme. He was very popular in World War II. He was one of England's leading mathematical scientists. It said he was one of 2 boffins, which is a person engaged in scientific or technical research.
Boffins? I've never heard that word in my life.
It's English.
It's English.
It's English.
And what we speak is but also, so just that he did scientific and technical research.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I've never heard that word before because it doesn't seem highly
But listen,
specialized.
here's another word.
Okay.
He worked out the degaussing maybe, method, which countered the German magnetic mine. It's named after the unit of magnetism. It's a process in which you decrease or eliminate something's magnetic field. During World War II, this tactic was used to reduce ships' magnetic signatures so they could pass over a magnetic mine undetected and unharmed.
Is this like how cell phones demagnetize your credit cards?
In your brain.
Or they used to in your brains? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's exactly
the same.
Dr. Hume came up with it.
Great.
Sure did. I guarantee it.
That part's not true.
No, it's not. It's not. He was a boffin, guys.
It sounds like an insult. It sounds like what a boffin.
What a boffin. You're such a boffin.
You're such a boffin. But
it's not.
Seems like maybe he's pretty smart.
He was real smart. So, after the war.
Like us.
Exactly. We know all these words.
We're boffins.
Stop.
Oh, that part's also not true.
No. What is
Polymath?
Polymaths, yep. Hamilton's a polymath, and so are we. And now we're boffins. We study magnetic mines. Huh? Okay, anyways.
Are we high?
Are we high
Again? It's never happened on the podcast. Let's go on with the episode.
Okay. After the war, he went back to New York. He didn't. He really didn't. But
after the war, I went back to New York.
Yeah. Okay. I'm losing it. Okay. Dr. Hume was one of England's brightest minds in that time frame.
Mm-hmm. In the 50s.
Yes. Okay. So he decided he was going to go to New Zealand, and he was going to work as a rector of Canterbury University College at Christchurch. That was kind of like the GM or the principal or
of the school.
Yeah.
Okay.
What he did, really.
Tell me.
This article makes note that he was not running away from all the things that he had done in the past and like his research and all that stuff. He's not running away from it.
Okay.
It's really because his daughter, Juliet, had some health issues. She suffered from tuberculosis. And doctors were like, the clean air in New Zealand is going to be better for her.
Is she... Okay. So the other one is the one who had the osteomyelitis.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so Juliet is also sick. Interesting. Okay.
Yes. So doctors were like, yeah, New Zealand's going to be great for her. Like, this is going to be great. So him and his wife, Hilda, and the children arrive in New Zealand, 1948. 1953, they put her in a hospital. 4 months of treatment. She's discharged. She's not better, but she's discharged.
Mm-hmm.
They send her to school. It's Christchurch Girls High School when she's a teenager. And she meets this Pauline girl.
Oh. Who's dark and dumpy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they instantly click because they're both sickly.
Mm-hmm.
They both can't do a ton of the things.
Mm-hmm.
I have the hiccups. A ton of the things that the other girls can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just form this bond. They become inseparable. They just kind of went on this little imaginative journey with each other.
How old are they now?
Teenagers. Mm-hmm. So they spend hours creating stories. They rename themselves Gina and Deborah.
Gina and Deborah.
Yes, they do.
Wow.
And then they're like, you know what? We're going to go to America one day.
This sounds like their like small alter ego.
Yeah.
You know how you hear about people who like they start drinking and then they have
Janet.
this alter ego. For all of us, it's Janet. But like Gina and Deborah are such like the alter ego names.
Yes, they're like these quiet little meek girls, and then all
but
of a
wait till
sudden,
Deborah gets
Deborah get out. It's great. Okay, so they're like, you know what? We're going to become actresses in America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought that too when I was little.
So they're sitting here bonding, writing little stories, doing all sorts of little things, and dreaming of fame and fortune. Mm-hmm. And they just, invented their own religion.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were so bored that they got real wild with it. Yeah. They said that they were going to reject Christianity. They're going to worship their own saints that they create. And
their own saints.
Mm-hmm. And they said that they had a parallel dimension called the fourth world, and it was their version of heaven. It was a place where they felt they were already able to enter, I almost said enter occasionally during moments of spiritual enlightenment.
Here's what I don't get. There's a lot of it I don't get. But it makes me think of people who, like, particularly on social media, will make up a lie. They'll make up a lie to support whatever their stance is on a subject, you know? And I'm like, don't you think it's weird that you have to make up a story to, like, back up your argument? If your argument's that good, you shouldn't have to make up lies to support it.
It should support itself.
Right. And it's just so weird to me. And, like, this, I think about this all the time with Tom Cruise's religion. I'm afraid to even say the word.
No. I know somebody asked us to cover that, and I'm like,
I'm not talking about it.
Can't
ever.
talk about it.
But
it's like Voldemort.
I'm always like, if you invented a religion, how would you worship the religion that you just made up in your head?
Yeah.
I get how other people might fall into it because they don't get that you made it up. But if you're the one,
how did we get here?
I know. What are you doing? Like, how do you reconcile that in your brain?
Yeah. So Pauline and Juliet are like obsessed with each other, and it would get worse as time went on. Like, so obsessed with each other that the parents, like, at first were so happy that their daughters were bonding because they both had these illnesses and they both struggled when they were younger with health and all this stuff. But now they're like, this is getting a little weird. Like, don't you think that they should spend time away from each other? Like, they were constantly at each other's houses, dreaming up these little plans, like laying in the yard. It said they would sneak out in the middle of the night and act out the stories that they wrote. They would go LARPing. Yeah. Sneak out at night to do this. Okay. So then their parents are like, something's going on here.
I mean, yeah. It's interesting that, like, the two of them found each other.
Yes.
Because that is pretty unusual behavior.
Maybe
it's one thing to, like, have a big imagination and be creative, but
to both of them
this extent,
at some point, both groups of parents got together and they were like, okay, we're concerned. Do we think that this relationship is more than friendship? Do we think it's sexual? And they were worried because at the time, having a same-sex partner was considered a serious mental illness.
I mean, if you're not watching the YouTube video, I just rolled my eyes real hard.
Yeah. So, both
serious mental illness.
Serious mental illness. Both groups of parents are just like, okay, we're going to try to, like, separate them a little bit. Like, let's see what happens if we try to get them apart. Juliet's hospitalized with tuberculosis. And the parents were like, good. Like, this is great for us.
They said, what?
This is great. Like, that's going to be great for us because we're going to be able to separate them. Like, Juliet's in the hospital with tuberculosis. Like, she can't go LARPing. She can't go riding her pony. She can't go do all these things, and she can't be with her.
So happy this teenage girl can't breathe.
Right, exactly.
That's amazing news. Congratulations, us.
Yeah, they're gonna have some time apart. So hopefully this makes that fondness disappear. It didn't. It made it 10 times stronger. Mm-hmm. So then Pauline's parents are like even more concerned. They were just like, she's at this point codependent on her friend. Mm-hmm. Like, this is too much. Juliet's parents are starting to have issues. They decide that they're going to separate because the mother starts seeing this gentleman, Walter Perry. So they're like, okay, Juliet is going to leave New Zealand with Dad. Dad's going to leave town. Mom's going to stay with her new boy toy. So
Juliet's going to leave New Zealand? Mm-hmm. That is not going to go well.
No.
You're going to separate them to that extent?
Yeah. So they're freaking out.
Yeah.
And she said she's not going unless Pauline can go too. And Pauline's parents were like,
can't leave the country with her.
Why would you do that? You're like 15. That's not happening. Both sets of parents were like, heck no, it's not happening. Pauline kept a diary. Mm-hmm. And according to the diary that police find, they started planning Honora's murder in June of 1954.
Now, Honora is Juliet's mom?
No, Pauline.
Honora is Pauline's mom.
Pauline.
Okay.
Yeah. They are hanging out with her mom. And she's like, you know what, girls? I'm going to take you to the park. We're going to go to Victoria Park. We're going to have tea. They sit down, have tea at this kiosk. And they go for a walk. Just a little bit of time into their walk, the girls sprint back to the tea cart, whatever it is. And they're screaming for help, both girls covered in blood. They're saying that Pauline's mom slipped and fell. And they said that she hit her head. And then they said that she just took a tumble and had some lacerations on her. That she needs help. But they're not going back there. Too traumatizing for them. They can't carry her. They tried. That's why they're covered in blood. So the guy...
I mean, they've got a decent story. They sort of cover every question I would have had.
The guy from the tea kiosk goes out there and was like, this looks questionable. I'm going to call the police. So the police go out there and they find a torn, blood-soaked stocking with a brick in it nearby.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. So
my God, and killed her own mother.
The mom had 45 wounds on her head. 45. That's not a slip and fall.
That's also such a brutal, direct, like personal attack. You know, they say a lot of times like women will kill in a more indirect way.
No. So that night, this is how they found that they were talking about the murder. They found her diary. And the next day, the girls are arrested for murder. There's some evidence from the diary. They don't read it all, but here's some little pieces from it. Okay. The diary referred to Juliet by the pet name Deborah, and it revealed that Pauline was affectionately known as Gina. So that's what they call each other. Their little pet names that we discussed earlier.
Gina and Deborah.
February 23rd, 23 TH.
Okay.
1954. Why could not mother die? Dozens, thousands of people are dying. Why not mother? And father too. Life is very hard. April 28. Anger against mother boiling inside of me as she is the main obstacle in my path. Suddenly, means of ridding myself of the obstacle occurred to me if she were to die. June 20th. Deborah and I talked for some time. Afterwards, we discussed our plans for moitering.
Moitering?
She meant murdering. Mother.
They've been moited.
Moited! There's a moited! Murdering mother and made them clear. But peculiarly enough, I have no qualms or conscience. Or is it peculiar? We're so made.
Is it strange that I want to kill my own mother and I don't even have any bad feelings about it?
Okay.
Weird. Should I have concerns about myself?
Yeah. So, June 21st, Deborah rang and we decided to use a brick and a stocking rather than a sandbag. Mother has fallen in with plans beautifully. I feel quite keyed up.
Also, just the fact that you're writing this all down. Like, I'm a big proponent for journaling, but this is a little like...
Right.
I'm glad they're stupid,
you know what?
But it's real
Heyman Lee's diary and journal, great.
Yes.
Thank you for
fantastic.
Keeping a journal. This, I don't know. She said, June 22nd, I felt very excited last night and sort of not nightmare, kind of a nightmare. And sort of night before Christmas. But I did not have the pleasant dreams. I am about to rise.
Oh my gosh.
And the top of the page for June 22nd was headed in printed letters, the day of the happy event. There's also a poem Pauline wrote. It's called The Ones I Worship. Yeah. Here's the second verse. I worship the power of these lovely two. With that adorning love known to so few, 'tis indeed a miracle one must feel, that two such heavenly creatures are real. Both sets of eyes, though different far, hold many mysteries strange. Impassively they watch the race of man decay and change. Hatred burning bright in the brown eyes for fuel, ivy scorn glitters in the gray eyes, contemptuous and cruel.
Jeez.
Why are men such fools they will not realize the wisdom that is hidden behind those strange eyes? And those wonderful people are you and I.
Like the rage and just the condescension to be 15, 16 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
scary.
Yeah.
So police decide they're going to interview Pauline by herself, which is probably smart. But they're like, we believe that this Hume girl was not present during this. So they're trying to like trick her into telling them something. And she's like, okay, I'm going to protect my best friend then.
Oh, wow. Really?
So they're like, so would you like to give us a statement about murdering your mother? And she said, no, but you can ask me questions. So here's the questions.
Here, how about I ask the questions? You get the answers. They'll make it easier to go through. Okay, I'll ask the questions. Okay. Who assaulted your mother?
I did.
Why?
If you don't mind, I won't answer that question.
When did you make up your mind to kill your mother?
A few days ago.
Did you tell anyone you were going to do it?
No, my friend did not know anything about it. She was out of sight at the time. She had gone on ahead.
What did your mother say when you struck her?
I would rather not answer that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How often did you hit her?
I don't know, but a great many times, I imagine.
What did you use?
I have brick inside the foot of a stocking. I took them with me for purpose. I had the brick in my shoulder bag. I wish to state that Juliet did not know any of my intentions, and she did not see me strike my mother. I took the chance to strike my mother when Juliet was away. I still don't know. I still don't wish to say why I killed my mother.
Okay. Did you tell Juliet that you killed your mother?
She knew nothing about it. As far as I know, she believed what I told her, although she may have guessed what happened, but I doubt it, as we were both so shaken that it probably did not occur to her.
Why did Juliet tell the same story as you to the lady in the tea kiosk?
I think she simply copied what I said. She might have suspected what I had done, and she would not have wished to believe it, nor to have got me into trouble. As soon as I started to strike my mother, I regretted it, but I could not stop. But she wrote in her diary They had planned this.
Yeah.
That she had called her, and
So dumb.
So dumb.
I'm just fascinated.
So dumb. Climbing in your window.
Was one of the two of them a more dominant personality than the other? Or like, did they just naturally kind of both want to? Well, it just seems like there wasn't a driving force. They just both sort of did this together.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to me. Because I always feel like usually there's like one, like, who's like a more dominant personality and the other one just wants to be like them.
Right.
Or wants to do whatever they can to be their friend.
As a sheep.
Sheep.
So they're obviously found guilty. There's a lot of like psychological stuff that goes into the trial.
Well, I mean, that is something I keep thinking about too, is like, you know, a teenager's brain, your brains still aren't fully formed until you're like 19 or something like that, 19, 20. And there is the part of the brain when you're a teenager that is still like, you know, you want immediate gratification. You can't fathom like the long-term ramifications of your actions.
Right.
And so it's one of the things that makes this particularly terrible, I guess, is like, she really couldn't get.
Yeah.
She didn't have, it's like she didn't have the capacity to think like, you know, one day I'll be a grown up and I can live my life how I want to. Right now, I just have to live by my parents' rules. Or, you know, like she couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But also, in general, all of our brains develop the same way. And there's a whole bunch of teenagers out there who, you know, get told no and don't kill their parents.
Right, exactly.
So how does this happen?
Yeah.
How do we make sure we don't get killed?
Exactly. Parents unite. Good Lord. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot of like mental health stuff that goes into this, and they're interviewed by several different doctors. And finally, the court is just like, you know, they clearly have some issues, but it's not that. Like the doctors even were just like, we talked to them each separately, and it just seems like this is where it is. So the judge was even like, to the jury, like, I need you all to understand that even though these are two just typical looking teenage girls, you need to understand that they understood right from wrong. Mm-hmm. You need to understand that they understand what this means. So, I mean, they were found guilty. But listen, New Zealand law at the time, they were convicted and sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, which was, the sentence meant that they were to be detained at the discretion of the Minister of Justice. So they jailed the girls separately, and the girls never saw each other again. And when they went to release them, they gave them new identities. So they're released a little after 5 years later. Mm-hmm.
Do we know which one actually swung the...
I'm guessing it was her daughter. Yeah.
5 years.
Juliet, after being released, traveled to the U.S., went on to have a super successful career as a historical detective novelist under her new name, Anne Perry. So, reporters caught up with her in March 2006, and she had a lot to say about the situation. She said they were obsessive over each other, but they weren't lesbians. And she said that she made the wrong decision. She said she feared Pauline would take her own life, and it would be her fault if she didn't help out. And she said that when she had tuberculosis, doctors would experiment on her. And she said that now they know that the drugs they used were mood-altering drugs. And she said it would be a long needle shoved in your butt cheek. Mm-hmm. She said, while you're asleep. She said that she was the only child inmate in prison, so that kind of messed with her. She said she spent the first 3 months in solitary confinement. And she said, that's when I realized that I had done wrong.
That's when you realized
she was like, I repented at that time. She said I was guilty and it was the right place for me to be.
That's when I realized. I was covered in her blood.
Yeah.
She didn't have to die.
But I wanted my best friend to love me. Uh-huh. So she was released at the age of 21. And
was it 5 years just because they were so young?
Yeah, I guess so. Her Majesty had.
I was just like, I mean, Anne Perry, like, yeah, I've heard of Anne Perry.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I had no idea that she had been convicted of murder when she was a teenager.
Yeah.
I don't think that I was looking at her books. I don't think I've read any of these, but I think my mom has some of her books. And that's why I'm familiar with it.
Yeah.
Because I was just looking at pictures of her books and I'm like, oh yeah, some of those look familiar to me.
Mm-hmm. It said that before becoming that famous writer, she traveled and worked. She was an air hostess to insurance underwriter. It said she had a lot of boyfriends, but she didn't want to get close enough to any of them to where she would have to explain her past. She said, I do know what it's like to feel like an outsider. She has more than 50 novels. Mm-hmm. She lives with her brother, who's a retired doctor, who's now a full-time researcher in a stone barn they restored with her royalties. She sold over 20 million books. It's crazy.
I mean, she's a big-time author. I'm just fascinated by this. I can't believe. So
she's also involved in the Mormon community. She said, I like its doctrine that you have to keep learning and that no one is excluded. No one is penalized. There's very little on Pauline's after jail life just because she didn't want to talk to anybody.
I assume they don't have any contact anymore.
It said that they kept her in New Zealand under close surveillance before she was allowed to leave for England. As of 1997, she was living in a small village near Strood, Kent. She was running a children's horse riding school. As an adult, she became Roman Catholic, and she just kept refusing to give interviews. It does say that she expressed strong remorse about killing her mother, and she goes by the name Hilary Nathan.
Yeah, that's
wild.
Really wild. It is interesting that she was so, creative as a kid. And then, because, wildly, emphasis on the wildly creative.
Yeah.
As a teenager and a kid and grew up with this.
Yeah. But also it baffles me that they're like, we're going to give you new names and you're going to have new lives. And all these people are like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
I know your past. And they're open about it. And I'm like, well, I guess that's not really under witness protection or anything, but
I guess to
give them a new life,
maybe
to give them a chance at a future.
If it happened in the 50s and they were released 5 years later, there's really no way they could have known then that the internet would become what it is, right? There's no way they could have kept that a secret.
Yeah.
But wow. I was trying to look up more to make sure. I'm like, am I right what I'm saying about teenage brains?
Yeah.
Because I said it like I was 100% positive. And then, of course, I had to think about it. But it is right. It's like,
everything's so jumbled in there.
Yeah. And they're not great at making well thought out decisions yet because they're just so much more impulsive. And that's part of it.
And they're transitioning from this childlike brain to all of a sudden puberty hits them and all of these emotions and hormones and stuff are going on in there.
And it's not an excuse. Like I said, plenty of teenagers don't commit murder.
Right, exactly.
But I'm just it's all part of it.
Yeah.
It's just because it's hard for us as adults to look at this and be like, why did you kill your mom? But if you're impulsive and kind of living in a fantasy world, it seemed like they're making up religions, they're making up all their LARPing.
Yeah.
In the they were straddling this weird line of reality versus not.
Yeah.
And it's you're not just playing a role here. You really killed your mom.
I know.
You're not going to go off and be Gina and Deborah. You could have not killed your mom.
Right.
You only had a few more years before you're 18, then go off and do whatever you want.
Right.
Oh my God. All right. Well, yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Wow. I'm going to have to call my mom and be like, do you have any Anne Perry books?
Yeah.
She'll probably know, though. My mom always is like, oh, yeah, I know that story. And I'm like, oh, well.
Oh.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing it with us, Mom.
Okay. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, we love you all.
Yeah, we do.
A lot.
Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.